Welcome to the Performance Reporting Entry Portal, or PREP, virtual training session, Responsibilities of an Agency Editor. This training is focused on making sure you, as an agency editor, understand your role and responsibilities in managing and updating the agency's specific information on performance.gov. By the end of this training, you will be able to navigate through PREP and specifically update your agency priority goals, or APGs, which is required each quarter prior to site publication. To view the submission and review schedule, simply log into PREP using your Max.gov account login information. You will find a calendar of important dates on the PREP homepage dashboard. On January 4, 2011, President Obama signed the Government Performance and Results Modernization Act of 2010. The Act modernized the federal government's performance management framework, retaining the foundation of the original Government Performance and Results Act of 1993, which required a strategic plan, an annual performance plan or report, but added clear expectations for OMB and agency leaders to personally engage in improving results by owning a limited number of priority goals and leading frequency progress reviews. Performance.gov was developed as a window to the administration's efforts to deliver a more effective, smarter, and leaner government. The site gives the public, agencies, members of Congress, and the media a view of progress underway in cutting waste, streamlining government, and improving performance. PREP is a web-based platform that allows you, as the agency editor, to enter and manage agency details and performance information that will be displayed on the public-facing Performance.gov site. All agency data and performance information is reviewed by your agency's assigned Resource Management Officer, or RMO, within the Office of Management and Budget, before it is published on the Performance.gov site. What information is collected in PREP? First, general agency information, including your mission and overview and any strategic objectives that your agency may have. Then, your strategic plans as outlined by the Government Performance and Results Modernization Act, and agency priority goals and indicators. Today's session will address the following questions. What are my responsibilities as an agency editor? What is an agency priority goal, or APG? How do I edit an APG? What is the workflow status? How do I update indicators and indicator instances? How do I compare changes from the last submission? How do I preview my information? How do I build a report? How do I know all of my updates are included when I update the workflow status? And finally, is there a PREP user guide? As an agency editor, it is your responsibility to review, update, and manage agency details and performance information before it is published on the Performance.gov website. Your input to the progress of agency priority goals is critical to the quality and accuracy of agency information before it becomes available for public review. This tutorial will demonstrate how to update and maintain all agency information, specifically agency priority goals, or APGs, compare changes from previous submissions and reviews, and create reports to allow for easier review of agency information. What is an agency priority goal, or APG? Agency priority goals are goals that target areas where agency leaders want to achieve near-term performance improvement through focused senior leadership attention. APGs advance progress toward longer-term, outcome-focused goals in the agency's strategic plan. Given their near-term focus on results or achievements that leadership wants to accomplish within approximately 24 months, APGs rely predominantly on agency implementation, as opposed to budget or legislative accomplishments. APGs require progress updates on a quarterly basis with OMB and RMO review prior to publication. For more information on agency priority goals and strategic requirements, please see OMB Circular A11 Part 6, Preparation and Submission of Strategic Plans, Annual Performance Plans, and Annual Performance Reports. To review and update your APG progress updates in PREP, you must use the workflow to both enable editing capabilities and relay to the RMO when your updates are available for review. You can access your APGs through many avenues within the system. So first, we'll access them through the home page. If you scroll down past your calendar of upcoming events, you'll find a link for your APGs under the Overview section. Once you select Agency Priority Goals, you will see a table view with the agency, fiscal year, header, date of previous edits, and potential actions. To view the APG as it is currently published on performance.gov, click on the title of the APG you wish to review. This will take you to the APG Overview page and will display all elements of the APG, including strategies, associated strategic goals and objectives, and project progress updates. As the agency editor, it is your responsibility to make sure all of the content for your agency is up to date and accurate. Specific updates to the APGs are required on a quarterly basis. How do I edit an APG? What is the workflow status? Understanding how the workflow in PrEP operates will help with the update and submission process of your data. There are 3 parts to the workflow: content creation and input, review, and publication. The content creation portion allows you as the editor to populate your agency's goals and supporting data. The review portion allows the RMOs to assess the content data before it's published. The publication stage is where information is published to the performance.gov site and viewable by the public. Content creation is when the workflow status is in edit. This allows the agency editor to make updates or changes to the agency details prior to RMO review. The review portion is when the workflow status is in queue for quarterly publication. This means the agency editor can no longer make edits and the RMO review can begin. To edit an APG that has not been updated since the previous quarter, you as the agency editor must change the workflow status from published to draft. As you will see here, the current status is published. The target state is draft. Another state, when you're finished making your edits, is in queue for quarterly publication. To make edits, change it to draft and select Update Workflow. When you have successfully changed the workflow status to draft, you will see here current state is draft. This means you are starting with the latest information and can now make updates to your APG. When the workflow status is updated, you will notice the view of the APG details page will allow for information updates in each of the fields. Once your updates are complete, you must change your workflow status from draft to in queue for quarterly publication. This releases the new content for OMB RMO review. If additional changes are necessary following the workflow status update to in queue for quarterly publication, you as the agency editor can change its status back to draft. However, this change in workflow status removes the APG from RMO view. We advise full communication with your RMO to ensure you do not disrupt their review. The exception to the rule is when PrEP is locked to editing in the days leading up to a publication of all updated content. The workflow, like the APGs, can be accessed several different ways. On the APG Overview page, accessed from the home page, you are shown the Action and Workflow Status column. Here, you'll see the APG that we updated and changed the workflow status to in queue for quarterly publication. You can click on this status, and it will bring you back to the workflow to make any additional updates. Again, in these instances, it's critical for you to coordinate with your RMO so as to not disrupt their review. As part of the APGs, each agency identifies performance indicators that allow the agency and public to track progress and performance toward those APGs. These indicators must be updated and maintained through each quarterly update and review. Agencies should publish targets and actual results for each reporting period for each APG indicator. As the agency editor, it is your responsibility to make sure all of the content for your agency is up to date and accurate. To update your indicators and indicator instances, click Indicators on the primary prep toolbar. This will bring you to a list of your current indicators. To view an indicator and its associated details, click on the title under the header column. To edit the indicator, you can select either Edit under the Action column or Published under the Workflow Status column, which will allow you to update your workflow status to draft. Updating the workflow status to draft will bring you back to the indicator overview page, at which point select Edit. Similar to the other elements in PREP, hovering over the different field titles will provide an explanation of what information may go in that field. Please note that when updating the reporting frequency of the indicator, all of the currently associated indicator instance information will be deleted as it no longer applies. How do I compare changes from the last submission? To compare the changes from the previous quarter's submission, click on the Compare Changes icon along the top toolbar in PREP. The legend will guide you in deciphering which sections were updated and what the changes were. This will display the new information you added to the progress updates, as well as any additional updates to the APG. To preview information as it will look on the performance.gov website, click on the Preview button within the APG you are updating. This will provide a view of the information as it will look once it is approved and published on performance.gov. If you would like to print the APG information to review in Word with track changes or similar, click on the Report Builder icon. This will allow you to choose which APG and which element or elements of that APG you would like to review. Once you've selected the appropriate elements, PREP will download a Word document with only the elements chosen. This is a simple, clear way to gain feedback from your agency's leadership or team before updating the APG in PREP for RMO review. Select Create and Report Builder. Then select which fiscal year and any of the available options for the information you'd like to review. Then select Download to Word, which would include all fields, or Download to Word, which would just download the field that you've selected. When you pick Select Fields, it will only pick the elements that you would like to see printed out. Then you select Download to Word. The information you've selected will then be downloaded into a Word document to allow for easier editing and updating. Then you can simply transfer those edits into the site and submit for review using the workflow status. For each of your APGs, when you change the workflow status from draft to in queue for quarterly publication, which allows your RMO to begin the review, a pop-up will occur that will ask you whether you want to include your indicators in this update. You can select specific indicators to include in the submission or not select any. So, as I make my edits in the APG and change the workflow status to in queue for quarterly publication, it will take me to a screen that will ask me if I would also like to submit this agency priority goal's associated indicators. It will list all the associated indicators under here, at which point you can check the ones you would like to include in this document. Then you will see the green check and box along the top near your toolbar that says all indicators are already submitted or were submitted with your workflow status change. Finally, and most importantly, for more information or to access the PrEP user guide, look for the green book at the top right side of your screen. Clicking this icon will download the PrEP user guide updated consistently with new updates to the system. This will help you answer many of the questions that you have as you navigate through the system. Remember, for technical questions such as accessibility and system issues, please email prepsupport@gsa.gov. For all policy or process-related questions, please contact Lauren Stalker or Adam Lipton. Thank you for joining this tutorial.